So hopefully you're getting the hang of this a little bit better. But let's just double make sure we're solid. Okay, the direction. I kind of changed it up a little bit, didn't I? Because now, this time, since that's negative, it's going down. Okay? The degree. Okay, well, let's look. There's an x here, and then there's 3 here. That means it should be degree 4. What are the x-intercepts? Okay, so I'm going to take 0.1x and set it equal to 0. If I divide it by 0.1, I get 0. And then if I take x plus 4 and set it equal to 0, I get negative 4. Okay, oops. Let me show you the graph of it. It's going to look kind of interesting. So if you look here, here's the graph of that. So if you look, right there is negative 4, and right there is 0. Okay, it does look kind of weird. Right now we just need to do a rough sketch. Okay, the y-intercept. If the x-intercept is 0, 0, the y-intercept is 0, 0. Okay, so I know it's degree 4. If you go to the previous page, when it was degree 4, it's this one right here, it was degree 4. It was like this, kind of made like that. But now if it's negative, it's going to do this. Okay? And some of you are like, no, it doesn't. It kind of does. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just kind of weird. So that means I know, because I'm looking at the graph, it's going to look something like this. Okay? So that means on the left side it's negative, and on the right side it's negative. My rough sketch has that as the 0 and that as the negative 4. Okay. Now, remember before it was squared? When it was squared, it bounced. But when it's cubed, it isn't bouncing. It's kind of like changing at that spot. So that means that it's changing at that spot. Don't worry about that one as much. Okay, I just want you to kind of get ideas of it. And then we go here, negative 4 and 0. Okay, let's not worry about it right now. Let's just get the basic idea. This one is in standard form, so I want to show you this in standard form. I graphed it, so I could get my zeros are 0, 3, and negative 3. 0 plus or minus 3. The direction, positive, so going up. Degree, 4. But wait a minute, there's only 3 of them here, but it's degree 4, so it should be like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's because, look, there's a bounce. And we're going to go over it because we're going to factor this one in a second. Okay, the y-intercept, 0, 0. If the x is 0, the y is 0. We can see how it looks. Here's my rough sketch. So on the left side, it's going up. And on the right side, it's going up. 0, 3, negative 3. Okay, now we saw based on the graph that it bounces at 0. We're going to prove it. So 1, bounce. But we can't see it because this problem is in standard form, not factored form. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to factor it. I can take out a squared. Square root, square root. Now, since it's squared, if I set x squared equal to 0, there should be 2 answers. But there's only 1. That's why it's a bounce. So this x squared made that bounce. And then there's the negative 3, and there's the positive 3. 0, 3, negative 3. All right, first opportunity for bonus for the semester. It's in the first lesson. You'll get a bonus point in homework if you do both of these correctly. If you don't want to do it, you don't do it. If you do it, you'll take a picture of these two. It'll be perfect. And you'll get a bonus point. Okay, which equations are in standard form? If I call this A, this B, this C, this D, standard form is letter B and letter D. Factored form are A and C because they're factored for you. How can you find the x-intercept? You factor it, and then you set it equal to 0. Sorry, you can't see that. How do you find the y-intercept? You plug in 0. And I just want to show you some things. So I want you to see when it's a positive x cubed, it goes like this. When it's a negative x cubed, it goes like this. When it's a positive x to the 4th, it goes like this. It's a negative x to the 4th, it goes like this. If it's a positive x to the fifth, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it's a negative x to the fifth, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it's positive, and I'm just faking it, right? X to the sixth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if it's negative x to the sixth, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Kind of be aware of that. I should have added here that if it's a positive x, it goes like this. If it's a negative x, it goes like this. If it's a positive x squared, it goes like this. If it's a negative x squared, it goes like this. And some of you go, I'm not going to write that down. I will tell you right now, this is definitely something you want to have down so that you know when you have to graph it yourself how to do that. Okay? All right, are we ready? And by the way, I'm not going to give you questions that say, graph this, how would the graph look? I'm probably going to give you something like this and say, what type is it? And you're going to probably have to match on your quiz. So it's not something that you can put in Desmos or anywhere else. It's something you have to know. Okay? So like if I gave you, I might say x to the 24th might be one of them. The second one might be negative x to the 18th. And the third one might be x. And the fourth one might be negative x to the 11th. And you have to know which graph matches it. Okay? All right, let's go over some homework. So, you know how to do this stuff. You can use Desmos. You can use your brain. Take these, plug it in, whatever you want. I just want you to start seeing shapes. Know the difference between factored form and standard form. Okay, in this one, they want to know if it's a polynomial function. Ooh, something happened here. Let me zoom in on this question. This one's kind of ridiculous, but hey, this way you can use homework help, which a lot of you use. That looks like it's supposed to be 3/5 x to the 6th plus 19x squared. Use Desmos to help you graph this stuff and answer the questions, okay? A polynomial function is, as long as the x is in the numerator, I'll say the top, it's a function. The answer is yes. If the x is on the bottom, it's no, okay? So examples are 3x squared plus 7x. That's a yes. But if you had 2 over x plus 9, that's a no because the x is on the bottom. All right, the second page of homework. This is doing inverse. So let me remind you about inverse because it's been a few months. Okay? I will do this one. So actually, let me do a different one. So if I gave you y equals 3x plus 2 squared minus 7, the first thing that's happening to the x is you're adding 2, then you're squaring it, then you're multiplying by 3, and you're subtracting 7. So remember, with the inverse, you go backwards. Add 7, divide by 3. The opposite of squared is square root, plus or minus, and then minus 2. So my inverse would be you take that number, you add 7, you divide it by 3, you square root it plus or minus, and then you subtract 2. And that would be your inverse. Okay? If you're still feeling overwhelmed, I encourage you to use homework help on CPM. Okay? All right. Where does it intersect the x-axis? You can use Desmos or look at it. Okay? This one you might not be able to look at because this is in, I don't know if you remember, vertex form. So the difference between factored form and vertex form is if I had y equals x plus 3 times x minus 7, but if I had y equals x plus 3 squared minus 7, my vertex is negative 3, negative 7. Okay, so remember that, I hope you can see how they're different. This is on the outside vertex form. Okay, all right, evaluate without using a calculator. I will do this one, and then you'll do the rest of them, okay? So remember, if you don't have a log, it's in base 10. So there's 2 ways to do this. I could go log 10. That means that has to be 10. 10 to the what gives me 1. That's 0. Log 10, 10 is 1. Little turns big, 0. Another way to do this problem is you can set it equal to x, change it to exponential, 10 to the x equals 10 to the 0, x equals 0. This isn't easy, I agree. That's why we're going over it. Okay, I'm going to go over these problems. So when I subtract, change the signs of everything to the right, and then I go 6 minus 4 is 2, minus 5i. That's going to help you with this problem down here. I always do in imaginary form. It's backwards. Do my cute little box. 6 minus 2i, 4 plus 3i. Make sure I'm good on time. I am. So 24, 18i, negative 8i. 3i times negative 2i is negative 6i squared. Remember when you have an I squared, it equals negative 1. So if I have 6i squared, I really have 6 times negative 1, which is negative 6. So that means, oopsies, I'm sorry, it was negative 6i. So that'd be positive. So that means this is really positive 6. 24 plus 6 is 30. 18 minus 8 is 10i. You cannot check these answers in the calculator because they are imaginary. Okay? I to the 12th. If you remember, I to the 4th. Okay, so let's do this one. So I to the 1st is I. I squared, we learned back over here, was negative 1. I cubed is I squared and I to the 1st, which is negative I. I to the 4th is 2i squared, which is 1. So if I have I to the 12th, I really have an I to the 4th, an I to the 4th, and an I to the 4th, which is 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1. This one I have I to the 4th, I to the 4th, I to the 4th, I to the 4th, I cubed. I to the 4th, 1, 1, 1, 1. I cubed is negative I. Okay, I to the 62. You're like, Miss Rifkin, don't make me write the I to the 4th. So my recording paused, so let me re-explain I to the 62. So instead of going I to the 4th, I to the 4th, I to the 4th, I can just divide out all of those. So it goes in 1, 5, 15, remainder 2. That means there's 15 of them that I can divide out with 2 left over, which is I squared, which is negative 1. And you go, what? Well, if I have I to the 19th, I can go 19 divided by 4, which is 4. Look at that. There's 4 of them. I divide those out. Remainder 3. I cubed is negative I, which is what I got. Now you can do this one. Okay? This one right here, let's do this together. Remember, what kind of angles are these? Those are vertical. And I can't see without my glasses, so I'm going to set this angle equal to this angle, and then I solve from there. Also, I can do this, which is alternate interior angles, which says this is equal to this. So you finish solving that, and you can do that for homework. Okay? And then this second page, because, wow, there's three pages, then I'm going to make this worth 6 points because this is 3 pages. Oh, no, just 2 pages. That's it. That's it. Done.